So what is good, y'all? It is Anime K here, and we are back with another video, and today we're going to be reviewing Deidara versus Gaara. Now, I did a poll on my channel to basically ask what you guys would want to see me review out of Deidara versus Gaara, Sasuke versus Gaara, Sasuke versus Deidara, sorry, or other fights. And I basically titled it underrated fights, because I think maybe not so much Sasuke versus Deidara, but Gaara versus Deidara is definitely an underrated fight in the series. And, you know, you've got the popular fights. You've got Kakashi versus Obito, Naruto versus Sasuke, you know, Naruto versus Pain. You've got fights like that are very glamorized and talked about, but I think this is a fight that is underrated. Now, if you guys like this video and want to see me review other fights in the future, you guys let me know in the comments, or if you don't like it, let me know and I'll never do it again. But let's hope you guys do like it. So first, right, I'm going to break this fight down. I'm going to tell you what leads up to this fight, then we're going to talk about the fight, and then I'm going to be reviewing the manga, by the way, as well. We're going to be reviewing the fight through the manga, and after that, at the end of the video, I'm just going to talk about what I like about the fight and everything like that, and then yeah. So this fight starts, right, so we see a meeting with the Sand Council, right, and after this meeting, one of the Sand Council starts getting a headache, and one of the guys asks, yo, what's up, are you all right? And he goes, yeah, I've just been a bit sleep deprived, right? And he goes, all right then, but you know, clean yourself up. But then we see a panel of him going, so that's it. So I don't know what happens, but he just remembers something and he looks visibly scared. Now we go to another panel of two Akatsuki members walking in the sand, and we find out these two Akatsuki members are Deidara and Sasori, and they're walking and they're having a conversation, and this is how we find out how they infiltrate the sand village so easily, because I always talked about this fight and I always wondered, how did they get in so easy? Because I always forgot this little piece of information. But they had a spy in the village, and how do we know that? Because they're talking about Orochimaru and they're saying, oh my god, what's happening with the other person? Is this going to be the same thing that happened with Orochimaru? And what we know later on is when Sakura kills Sasori, that they are talking about when Sasori planted a spy with Orochimaru, Kabuto, but Kabuto ended up being flipped by Orochimaru and stayed with Orochimaru, but that's what they're talking about. So this is how they're able to infiltrate the hidden sand so easily. So in the next panel, we see loads of Sand Shinobi basically on the floor, right? These guys, I think they're at least joning, right? And they're on the floor and they are presumably dead. And the one Sand Shinobi, the one that was from the council that we're seeing at the start, right, of the panels, he's there and they greet him and he goes, so do you remember me now? And he goes, yes, Lord Sasori. So this confirms that they have a spy within there, and that's how they easily infiltrate the hidden sand. So now I've gone through that. Basically, if you guys remember, the reason why they are there is because the Akatsuki are trying to collect all the tail beasts, and at that time Gaara was the Jinchuriki of the One Tail, so that's why they are there. And the next panel we'll get Deidara going off on his bird, and Sasori says, don't keep me waiting. So that is basically how this fight come about and everything. I just wanted to set it up for you guys because I know it's been a long time and some details I forgot, right? And every time I make videos like this, I have to go back and rewatch, so maybe some of you guys have to as well. But let's get into the fight. So in the next panel, we see Deidara, he's flying over the hidden sand, he's surveying it, trying to see how many people are there, trying to see the layout of the hidden sand, which, you know, is a smart move. You got to check your surroundings before you go and attack somewhere, right? So he is flying over the hidden sand, surveying everything, seeing what's going on, right? And he creates these little spider claymores, right, with that mouth thing that he has in his hand, and he throws them down, and these claymores climb up some Jonin's people's backs and explode, basically killing a couple of Jonin. And at this point, Deidara is surprised because Gaara pops up out of nowhere, quickly spots where Deidara is and tries catching him with some sand, to which he fails, and Deidara flies off. And he asks Gaara, how did you know? And Gaara goes, there are no such birds in this desert, which is a fair point, right? Because if you're in a desert and you're flying over with a massive bird, you're not going to get them type of birds in the desert, are you? But still, Gaara is able to find Deidara pretty quickly, and we see the improvement with Gaara in this fight because he's able to survey and he's able to kind of calculate, and he's able to look at the fight, see what's going on, break down Deidara's ability, and he's able to think more. And this is a significant shift from the Gaara we see in part 1, where he just wanted to kill every single person in front of him and he did not care how he did it. So we already see the improvement with Gaara, and probably one of the reasons why he was able to become Kazekage so quickly, right? So after this exchange, Deidara tries making some claymore birds, right? Some mini birds that kind of look like the bird he's flying on right now, and he tries throwing them at Gaara, but Gaara quickly shields himself in an egg-like form. If you remember in the tuning exams where Gaara is fighting against Sasuke, he does a similar thing where he shields himself so he doesn't get hurt. But this time we see his sand shield has gotten even better now, and he uses his third eye to try spot where Deidara is. And after this, he tries putting Deidara in a sand coffin, and Deidara, even though Gaara, he nearly kills Deidara with this, right? He only gets Deidara's arm, and Deidara looks visibly worried because right now in the fight, Gaara has the upper hand. He has the shield, he can spot where Deidara is, and Deidara really, he kind of has no way of getting to Gaara, and he's starting to run out of clay at this point because he states, I'm running out of clay, I'm going to have to use my C3. And the C3, right, if you guys don't know what Deidara's C3 is, he's got C1, which is like his spiders and stuff like that. He's got his C2 where he has his birds and he has his kind of bigger objects, and then the C3 is the even bigger object. It kind of looks like there'll be a panel here. I don't know how to describe the shape of it, but it's like a weird shape. But if he drops it down, which he does drop it down, right, it just creates a massive explosion which could definitely hurt a lot of innocent civilians in the hidden sand, and Gaara as the Kozikage just couldn't let that happen, right? But Deidara, his plan is smart here because in this fight, before he does this, he analyzes Gaara's sand and he realizes that Gaara's sand, even though he has a lot of it, it is limited, and it is limited to the gorg that's on his back, because you remember that's where he keeps all his sand. And he analyzes the sand that Gaara just used to try obviously kill Deidara with the sand coffin. It's not yet been restored to his sand egg because there's a little spot in the egg that's missing, and Deidara realizes that. And you know what, Deidara, he's quite smart in this fight because he realizes that and knows that if he throws this big thing on the ground, Gaara's going to try to save everyone, and he's not going to be able to recover with his sand, but we're going to get into that. Now, I was just talking about how Deidara was able to break down Gaara's ability, break down his sand, and formulate a plan to stop Gaara, right? So what Deidara does is he throws the C3 right on the ground, right, and everyone sees it coming, and really no one can really do anything about it. Konkuro sees it, but no one can even stop it. So what Gaara is forced to do, he's forced to create a massive sand shield that basically covers most of the hidden sand, right, to protect everyone. Now, if you guys know, even though this sand, it probably takes a lot of, I can't exactly remember if it actually takes a lot of chakra outside of Gaara or not, but it at least takes a while for his sand to recover, especially after defending against a big attack like that. And what Deidara does is he uses this opportunity to use the rest of the clay that he has left to throw mini birds inside Gaara's sand shield, right, and blows him up. Now, once he blows him up, Gaara falls down because obviously he's just used so much of his chakra, so much of his sand to protect everyone. Plus he's been blown up, right, and he's not been able to defend himself at all. And he falls down to the ground, and Deidara grabs him and flies off. And that's how the fight ends. Now, there are a couple of things I want to talk about with this fight. I think the first thing that I like about this fight is I like the analyzing between the two characters. I like the way they both analyze the fight. You know, Deidara at the start, he's analyzing, he's surveying the hidden sand. I don't know why I like little details like this, but I just like it. So he's surveying the hidden sand to see who's there, what the layout's like, how many people are there. And then Gaara, when he finally gets up there to stop Deidara, he analyzes Deidara's bombs, and he realizes that how he creates the bombs and stuff like that. And then Deidara again, when Gaara is using his sand to protect himself, he analyzes that he only has a limited amount of sand, and this is basically what won Deidara the fight. Now, what's interesting about this fight as well, this fight could have gone any way. This is one of these fights in Naruto where it was literally 50-50, and it was all about, I think, where they fought. Now, initially you would think that, you know, Gaara would have the upper hand fighting in the sand, fighting in his own home turf, but you realize that actually, while it was a strength to him, it kind of hindered him as well, because he wasn't able to fight at his full power because he had to protect so many people, which obviously he's the Kozikage now, he's going to protect everyone, but because he had to exert so much of his sand to protect everyone, this is why he lost. Now, if you ask me who was strongest out of the both of them at that time, just based off both their power levels, who was the strongest, I'd probably give it to Gaara, because within this fight he doesn't almost kill Deidara, right, but he manages to crush Deidara's arm, right, plus is able to put up a nice defense against Deidara, which Deidara can't really do much about. and that's why Deidara is forced to resort to the tactic of throwing that C3 bomb down and attacking the hidden sand. Now you could argue that Deidara does state that he doesn't bring all his claymore, right? So you could argue that Kishimoto put that in just so maybe he didn't want to show Deidara at his full strength because maybe he was planning that Sasuke fight after, right? I don't know, so you could use that as an argument, but if I had to say which one of them was stronger at that time, I'd probably still give it to Gaara personally. I'd personally say Gaara was still stronger, but Deidara cleverly used the fact that he knew he would protect people. Now look, don't get me wrong, is this the best tactic ever? No, because villains have been doing this since the dawn of time, just attacking random people because they know the hero will go and protect them, right? And they can use that as an opening. But you know what, I'll still give it to Deidara, right? He used that as an advantage, and yeah, for me, it's definitely one of those underrated fights within the show. Definitely underrated. I think even though the fight, well, it was probably quicker than I actually expected, right? Definitely the fight was definitely quicker, but still I think the fight is very good. Now I'm just gonna check my notes, see if I forgot anything. Yeah, I think I've said everything I wanted to say really about this fight. I think it's a very good fight and it's one of the more underrated fights. And you know what, I kind of wish we'd gotten a part 2 or maybe a second part to this fight once Gaara was brought back to life, but it's a shame we didn't get that. But look guys, tell me if you like this style of video, because I've never really analyzed fights like this, or I've never really seen, I see people more analyze versus battles than just kind of the whole fight in general, so I don't know. But you guys let me know if you like this style of video. If not, then I won't do it again, but if you guys do like it, then I'll post more polls for you guys to comment on what fight you want me to cover. And I probably, if I do cover fights, I think I want to cover more underrated fights than the fights that everyone knows. I think them ones are a bit more interesting to me to cover. I don't know, like, I don't just want to do Sasuke versus Naruto, you know what I mean? Even though they are interesting fights, I'd still do them if you wanted them. I probably want to do more of the underrated fights, you know, Sasuke versus Deidara, maybe even Kakashi versus Hidan and Kakazu, which was even shorter than this fight, but was still really, really good as well. But look, guys, I'm done talking. Look, like, comment, subscribe, share the video. This has been Anime K. Thank you for watching, listening, or however you choose to indulge in my content. And peace. I'm out. And check the rest of the videos out on my channel. And again, if you guys like the style of video, let me know. I'm out.